welcome to episode 35 of the Making It podcast, and we are back 35 episodes in. We are more than halfway through the year, 52 weeks in a year, and we're 35 into them. Daniel, it is great to have you back. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you Daniel, mate. Sorry. I'm going full naming you now. Dan, it's good to have you back, mate. Welcome to another week of podcasting, and of course, busy week for both of us. I know you've been out on a run this morning, doing a few bits and bobs here and there. So, how was your day and how's your week been?
Yeah, I'm good. I'll probably say in general, I'm quite busy often, to be fair. So you could class it as another busy week. But came back from my camping. Obviously, if you listened to the podcast last week, you would have saw the high definition quality of my visual aspect of the podcast. But no, came back from camping, which was really good. Nice way to reflect. And then it's been nice. Just been working in the pub as I do when I'm back home and not away somewhere. But I had a really good session last week with Beeston. Like I told you, when it happened, best session I've had with them. Why? Because obviously under 14s, but you want them to play football to a good level, but genuinely be enjoying it, and that's what happened, and it was really good. And it was nice because me and Reese, the other lad who does it, volunteering. We got our own group of lads, 6 lads, did some possession stuff, and they were just having a great time. Well, actually, really wanting to beat each other in the possession game they were playing. So that was really good, and I'll always love the fulfillment of that. And then been to Leeds Festival on Saturday with my family, which was really nice. Kev had a great time.
Come on. That's
And
what I wanted
got
to hear.
my 14-year-old cousin in the mosh pits for the first time. So I channel my inner 14-year-old. We're watching blooming AJ Tracy, but it was good. And then Hosey at the end was amazing. I never thought I'd be able to see Take Me to Church live, but absolutely phenomenal. And then this morning did a half marathon, ran all the way to my girlfriend's, and then she joined me for about 5 kilometers and went back and finished her run, ended up doing 11K, and I ran back and did a half marathon and just been for a coffee with my good friend Dolly, who is a listener of the podcast. And no, it's been good. I really do feel like I'm in a good mindset with things. And I think our chat last week was really good. We had a chat over the phone as we do, and I think I've noticed you've been a bit more clear in your mind as well lately, and I think we're both in a decent position right now, so to speak. But how's your week been, and how are you feeling? Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. The home situation is a bit better. Um, I feel more comfortable knowing that there's a sort of time frame for when we're going to move and stuff. And, obviously we're looking at moving to Sydney at the moment, which is the thing we're kind of working towards, maybe in about the first week in October. So once the football season's over and stuff, um, you know, going and seeing something different. So it's having something to work towards as an incentive, which is strange because it's like I was saying to Corin, who I've been out with today, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. But I was saying to him on the beach, I was like, when you're at home, you think that this will fix all your problems. Hot day, sitting by the beach, beautiful water, ice cream, coffee, whatever you want. Like, you think it will fix your issues. And you get there and you realize that life isn't as simple as that. And then he took me to a waterfall up in a place called Mount Jerusalem, which is, 40 minutes from our house or whatever, and a big old 20, 30-minute walk through this creek. And then I realized it's not the beach that cures all your depression and all your problems. It's jumping in freezing cold waterfall water that cures all your problems. So yes, Australia does cure your issues, um, but no, I'm just feeling more positive in general. I mean, I got offered a trial shift for a job this morning, so I'm really a bit nervous, but I'm optimistic for it. I've been going into this cafe, bro, for the last 3 to 4 weeks, Monday to Friday, even sometimes on a Saturday because of the rain and stuff we've had. So football's not been on. And, like I've just been enjoying it. And obviously, I asked if there was potential for there to be a job and they mentioned something and I put my resume in and they were really happy with it. And, I've gone in and I've met everyone and I already know everyone. It's like, I don't know. It's like knowing everyone before you work somewhere is such a nice feeling. That's like being back at the pub. because that's how it was when I first worked there. I knew everyone. Obviously they knew me as my mum's son, but like I knew them. So yeah, just feeling really nice. I think it's nice to work somewhere where I feel comfortable, and hopefully, obviously, they take me on, but somewhere that is like that's a bit of me. Like it was like when I was, trialing for the other job, which I couldn't take because of us moving house and stuff. Um, but I remember just kind of being like, yeah, this is a bit of me. And then I was like, yeah, when they offered the job, I was like, this is a bit of me. Yeah, absolutely. This is cool.
Hey,
But
well,
I'm going to be a little
good luck with
cafe
this.
chef. Thank you, mate. I'm going to be a little cafe chef. So I need to get like a bandana, smoke 60 a day, like one of them old radios. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, feeling better, mate.
It's interesting what you said about being out in Australia and realizing that your problems don't just go when you get out of there, unless you're jumping in freezing cold water. But
Oh, yeah.
with my coffee with Ollie, he was saying when he was out in the US, they went on a 19-day trip out to the US. He said it was incredible. They went to loads of different places. But he said one of the best parts of his holiday was when they were just playing this simple whiteboard game where someone asked a question and they had to write the answer on a whiteboard and show it. Like just simple things like that. Like I feel like it's so important, and it makes me think of when I was at Leeds Festival. It wasn't until after I got back to my auntie's where I was like, "Bloomin' heck, today was awesome." But you didn't realize it when you're in the moment, and I think it's just so important to understand that these big things, these things we idolize, and maybe people we idolize or things we see on social media, it's always just a superficial surface level. There's so much more to life. Um, but something interesting, which we had a very long pre-chat, and we were discussing what we want
Oh,
to speak about, and an interesting topic I'd love to talk about with you today, Jamie, is what do we do about friends who aren't maturing at the same rate as us? I would say me and you are very switched on people. We have ambitions, we have goals we're focused on, we've got a life we want to build for ourselves and for the people around us. Some people maybe haven't found that yet and they aren't quite maturing at the same rate. They're still maybe the same as they were when they're a bit younger and they're still trying to find themselves a bit more. What do we do with friends? And it's not necessarily like we have to do something, but how do we deal with friends who aren't quite maturing and growing at the same rate as us and maybe aren't finding themselves at the same rate and maybe are still doing things which aren't particularly positive for themselves or maybe the best for their reputation, but we still have a friendship with them because they're a friend and we're not just friends of what they're doing, but we're friends of who the person is. How do we deal with friends who aren't quite at the same growth rate as us?
well, like I've said in a podcast before, I think that you should see yourself in the people you surround yourself with. In terms of if you want to achieve big things in your life, then absolutely you should be, looking to surround yourself with other people that want to or are striving to achieve big things in life. You are a product of your environment, so make sure you create the right environment that will facilitate your success, your happiness, and your growth. Now, in my opinion, if my friends want to grow and develop, and not everyone does mature at the same rate. I've been incredibly fortunate. I've grown up in um, a good household. I've had really supportive parents. I've been very lucky in my circumstances. Not every kid and not every person gets that. So for some people, it isn't possible to mature and have the things that I have, and probably the same for you. Um, you know, but I would say that for friends that do want to achieve things and do want to go and do things and want to do well for themselves, then I'm backing them 100%. I'll back any of my friends. Like I want my friends to do well. But for people that don't want to do well and just want to kind of, I don't know, sorry to swear, Dan, but piss it all up the wall, that's kind of, I don't really want to be friends with people like that. So I'm at a point now where 20, the amount of people that text me that, you know, used to text me back home, or the people that I thought were really close, while I'm here, I'm noticing who's not that close and who isn't on the same level as me.
Stop right there. This is Daniel talking here, and I know right now you're enjoying the episode, but I've just got to give a really big shout out to something, and it's Making It Moments. That's where our guests are. That's where the people we bring on to talk about their journeys are. Go and listen to Making It Moments. Go find them on our Spotify and YouTube. Find clips on our socials. Making It Poddy, Making It Moments.
Like, I don't want to sound like same level as me, as in me being an arsehole, but it's my way of saying I want to surround myself with people that care about me, not just when it's convenient, when it's not convenient. That's one thing that we said on the beach when me and my friend were there today. He said, and really good advice. It's not about the people who care when it's convenient. It's about the people who care when it's not. When they have to call you at a rubbish time because of where you are, you know, to like when I was struggling with a few personal issues last year, I had a really bad panic attack. I was laid on the grass of the Victoria Embankment in Nottingham, and Declan picked up the phone and drove to where I was within 10 minutes. I don't know how he got there so quick, so I'm not going to grass on him for speeding, but like he got there when it wasn't convenient. This is what I'm saying. So the quality of the people you surround yourself with is important. And if they're not maturing, for the sake of myself and anything going wrong or anything going right, I don't want to surround myself with people like that. And it is tough because, again, it's not the same for everyone. Some people just don't mature as quick. But if they want to and they're trying hard and they care about you, you should help them out. You should support them. But for the people that don't really care and are just leeching off you, get them gone. I don't see any value
Yeah.
for them.
I think it's interesting because I don't think it has to be toxic. I don't think it has to be harsh. I don't think it has to be a case of, all right, we're not friends anymore. You're gone. Obviously, if someone does absolutely cross the line and you can tell doesn't care the slightest about you, then of course you've got to be harsh. Maybe that's
Yeah.
something I could grow with a bit more. But I think there are maybe some friends who, like you said, some friends that actually want to mature, but they're actually struggling.
Mm.
Maybe they're just not quite at that stage yet to grow. And I think with those people, like you say, and I don't want to put me and you on a pedestal in any way. I think me and you are quite fortunate, like you say, to be as focused as we are at 20. I think there's a lot of people who don't hit that until they're a bit older. And like I say, I'm not putting us on a pedestal or big ourselves up, but that's just how we are. And I think that doesn't mean we have to look down on people who maybe aren't maturing at the same rate or as ambitious about something because they might have not just found what that is yet. We're very fortunate that we have an idea of what that is. It really does help. But I think for people who, like you say, the ones that inevitably, sorry, not inevitably, but noticeably show that they don't really care. Like even small things like you say, in those times where it's inconvenient or in times where you're relying on them, they don't really mind about not being there for you or doing that thing you're hoping they're going to do for you or you're relying on them to do. I think that's a respect thing. I think if someone's not really showing you respect as a friend, despite what level of maturity you're at, then it's understandable to maybe distance a bit. But I think for those people who maybe are really trying to mature, like you say, I think it's important that we do give a helping hand and we help those people to progress and find out what that is for them and spend some time with them and really help them grow as a person. But I think for those people who aren't maturing and they just really aren't focused on anything, I think that's fine. Some people aren't going to be as focused. But I think it is the case of, okay, you've got a friend who isn't quite at the same level with something. They're not as ambitious. They're doing things that are daft, really, bit stupid. You wouldn't do yourself. There's a certain level of slack you can cut out, and then it gets to a point of, right, okay, this person actually isn't trying to mature. And then it's like, maybe it's time you leave it, you could have a conversation, and then naturally you just don't spend as much time with each other. But that's what I mean when I said at the start, it doesn't have to be toxic or harsh, but naturally sometimes we just come to realize someone isn't who we maybe hoped they were. And then it sort of fizzles out naturally, not in a toxic way, but in a healthy way. But I think what's important is those people who we realize are at a level of maturity or at a level of the same sort of understanding of life and realness, those people who do care. And I think you can really tell when someone cares. Like, I hadn't seen Jago for a couple of weeks because I've been away. And as soon as I saw him, it was like I could tell he was really happy to see me, just as I was to see him. And it was like, oh, we hadn't seen each other in ages. And you could tell he really cared about the fact he hadn't seen me in a while. And Jago's someone who I've really come to realize is a good friend of mine. And I want to constantly try and make sure I spend time. I'm very fortunate that I get to anyway, just at the pub. but I shouldn't take that for granted. I should try to see him outside of the pub, which I have done, which I should do more, actually, being honest. But I think that's where I think with these people who we maybe understand aren't quite who we thought they were, the people who we come to realize are someone who we have a lot of respect for and they have a lot of respect for you, we should tap into those people more. And I think it's just understanding people. And sometimes you're going to go through these phases where you have to maybe take the sacrifice of learning someone isn't for you. But I actually went back and listened to our relationships episode, and I think it's really important that you do think about these things, and the people you spend time with, like you say, are really, really valuable to you, and they do have an influence.
Yeah. And you should think of it like this, Dan. If you were running out of food and you were living in a log cabin in the middle of nowhere and you had a bucket of water, right, or a set amount of water in this big tank, right? And stay with me now. You've got a cabin and you've got a big tank of water. The water's going to run out at some point, and you need food to continue life and potentially go and search for more water. How are you going to spend that water? I.e., what plants are you going to feed? Are you going to feed the plants that take your water but there is no growth? Or are you going to feed those plants that are growing and presenting fruit and things that you can eat and things that feed you, right? And by that I mean, who are you going to give your energy to? Because there's only a certain amount of time you can give people who don't deserve your energy before you run out. And then you realize that you're not actually surviving and you're not actually growing yourself. If you feed the right people, if you feed the right plants, you will see growth around you, and the energy that comes with their growth and the way that their growing makes you happy brings you energy. You want to search for more growth in yourself. You want to go and search for more water so you can plant more plants, and this is how kind of life works. We've said it before, that analogy of plants and what plants you want to water. And it is so relatable, I think, because people don't think deeply enough about their friendships, because people like numbers, people like quantity, people like having a lot of things. And it's like, but just think about it. On your birthday, how many people say happy birthday to you? And all of a sudden that big bucket of, I don't know, if you could put all your friends as kind of marbles in a jar, and every time someone said happy birthday, you kept them in the jar. Or, every time you kind of put in an important event for you, something going right for you and someone congratulating you, as you kind of go through the layers, you realize that people don't really care that much. There's a lot of people that you think about and spend energy on that don't care about you. And like I say, why should I water that plant that bears no fruit for me? I just don't see the point in it. So I think it's really important how we invest our time. And again, maturing is difficult. Men mature at 25, science says. Women mature at 18. We're always going to be idiots. Men, we're going to be idiots. We're going to do stupid things. We're going to say stupid things. We're going to love throwing rocks into water and jumping off high stuff into water as well, and just doing all the dumb stuff. But like, I feel like we do all mature at different rates and different levels, but it is still so important that we work on how we judge characters, and we put ourselves first, and we make sure that our energy isn't being wasted on people who don't deserve it, because I think it's easy to fall into the trap of doing that.
100%. And it's one of those things where this life is a one-time thing. You're not on a trial. And I feel like when you're young, maybe we let ourselves we give ourselves too much time maybe at times, and we don't understand that yes, we're young and there's a lot of time ahead of us, but would you not want to spend more time like you say, watering the right plants because you'll get to see them grow as much as they possibly can, rather than just giving them a bit every now and then. I definitely fall into that trap of like I've definitely tried to balance myself out too much, spreading myself too thin. It burns you out. It's draining, and it ties into something else we want to speak to you about today. Obviously, you mentioned the word spontaneity. Now, my Instagram, I copyright blooming issues, but I couldn't post for a few days. So I just said to myself, okay, just take it as a sign. Let's not post for a few days. And I realized just how robotic I was with some things, worrying about the blooming algorithm. That I'm not going to get views or whatever when I come back. It's like, obviously, I've ended up posting and it's not affected it in the slightest, which was nice for me to realize. And I'm glad that I had a few days off posting because I realized that these things, like, I don't need to be so robotic. I don't need to be thinking of my days as time slots all the time. What am I doing in that hour, that hour, that hour? When am I going to post this? When am I going to do that? I've got to do it with the right time with the algorithm and all these things. And we're humans, you know? We're allowed that room to be a bit spontaneous, to not always be thinking about what's next, but spreading ourselves thin. And I think it's important that we do remember we're a person. And I'm speaking from what my own experience and remembering that I'm not a robot and that these things that I'm feeling like I'm having to balance all the time and maybe put too much energy into loads of different things. And I think the more I'm growing, the more I'm realizing that, like you say, people want numbers, people want quantity, people want loads of things. I feel like I just wanted there to be a lot of things that I was doing, whereas now I'm realizing it's not having a lot of things that I'm doing, but it's putting a lot of time into the things that I'm doing, the small amount of things that I'm doing. Like we say, it's quality, not quantity. And as you grow older, those things happen. And obviously you see it with your parents, because when you think about your parents, they're not in massive 20 people friendship groups. They've got like a few friends who they really get along with and spend time with, and they've grown for their kids to get to know each other. And who do you want those people to be in your life where you would want your kids to be friends? I think these things when you're young, especially I've found, and I always think about a conversation I had with Noah. These things when you're young and you feel like you can cut yourself some slack because you're young, and of course you can, you're young. But those things that you really know are good for you, spend as much time as possible doing them, because why would you not rather see the potential of those things rather than spreading yourself thin to loads of different things and realizing that, like you say with the water analogy,
Mm.
you wasted all that water and you can't get it back.
Yeah, you
You
can't.
can't get time back.
No, you can't. And you know as well, like it's important for kids to just be kids as well. Like when it comes to, because people should absolutely just be friends with people just because they're in the same environment every day at school. That's natural. And but then the kids will learn as they go along who's good for them and who's not. And then when you become an adult or you become 18, 19, 20, and you're starting to go into adulthood and your priorities change, and you realize that you have to start providing for yourself, you have to start finding jobs, you realize who you need around you, people who are going to give you good advice, people who are going to support your decisions and be honest with you, because you need to be a bit more of an all-rounded person when you become an adult, because there's more eyes on you. You are trying to impress people for various things, jobs, relationships, etc. You're trying to build the best possible you, so that you can set up the foundations for what you'd hope will be, and I hope for you, a successful life. But like the main topic of what we're saying is about spontaneity. We mentioned that life is just something you live once. So be spontaneous, man. Go out and do stuff. Go out and do random stuff. Like this is in my opinion, Dan, this is the rich fruit of life is just doing random things on a random day that you had no idea. And it's like no expectations is the best way to be.
Have you
You know?
ever because this is what I was getting passionate about, and that's why I really wanted to make sure I didn't lose the topic of it. Um, that idea of robotic and being a human. When it comes to being like that, as an ambitious person, this is a question for you. As someone who I know for a fact, thinks about what they want to do next with their ambitions. when do you ever struggle with being spontaneous because you're worried about? I'll go with what happened recently, right? You were going for a coffee and you were going to get some things done, right? You had a to-do list. Your mate obviously pulled up, said we're going on this mountain walk, which ended up being amazing, which you really enjoyed. Were you ever worried for a split second of like, oh my God, I'm not being able to get those things done I wanted to get done. I'm not going to be able to tick
Oh,
off
God,
on
yeah.
the to-do list. Because I
Yeah,
know I struggle with that. If anything's spontaneous or freeing, I'm like, oh, but I'm not doing the thing I wanted to get done.
well, at first I was kind of annoyed that he was making a decision for me because I was like, "Hey, I've got a plan. Like I've got a routine. Don't break it, bro. Like you don't understand what you're doing to me right now. You're killing me." Um,
I know that feeling, man.
yeah, you're killing me. Hey, you're killing me. Nah, but when he came over and said that, after we had a coffee, this is what we're doing. I'm like, I've got like loads of stuff to prepare. I've got to prepare for Declan coming over, like how I'm going to get to Brisbane and stuff. And like we fixed it, and I know what I'm going to do now. But the point being is like I wake up every morning now. I put my music on and I say to myself in the shower, I know what I'm going to do today. I'm trying to create the environment which facilitates me growing. And at the moment, that environment has been the cafe. I attach my working mind to the cafe. And when I leave the cafe, I attach my thinking mind to the walk home or the walk to the beach. And then when I'm at home, that's my home mind. If I want to do a little bit of work, maybe I can, but I prefer to just sit and watch a bit of football or, you know, just make a bit of food or just relax. I'm trying to attach things. But the spontaneous stuff, at first I was so nervous, not only because it was a new experience for me, but we're just going to this random place with, a guy I've only known for 2 months. Like I didn't 100% have like, like I said to him in the car earlier, I'm like, I find it really tough to kind of trust people sometimes to start with, because I do hold my friends to a high standard because I've got you and I've got Declan, I've got, good friends. Um, but it was amazing. We put tunes on, we drove up this big old mountain, like he chucked the off road on, and again we went on this big old walk barefoot and got to this waterfall. And it was the most beautiful thing ever. Like it was amazing. We were in that water, and I remember just thinking in the moment, no phone, no notifications, no work. I'm just thinking about this water is fucking freezing. Like, it's freezing. And then I said to myself after, I'm like, why am I here? Like, what is this? This time last year, like, I'm just doing some random stuff, whatever. And then now I'm in this random freshwater, like, waterfall in the middle of a mountain in Australia. And you're just like, well, how does life even bring you to that? But this is what being spontaneous is. I would say that in the course of my life, this trip was spontaneous. It just came about.
Did you ever and did you ever worry about the fact you weren't getting the things done you set out to do that day?
When I decided to come here,
When
or
you were going to the cafe and you're gonna be productive, like you
yeah,
say, you attach that to your work. When you then, ended up doing something unexpected, were you worried about the fact you didn't get those things done?
yeah, he knows that I was gonna say no. I was like trying to avoid when he brought it up. I was like trying to avoid it. I was changing the subject. Like I don't know if I want to do this. And then he brought it up again and was like, "Let's go and do it." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I don't want to do it." And I forgot to bring my jeans as well, so I had to go to the pub after for a $20 steak, £10 by the way for a steak, and then it was like I don't know £3 for a beer or whatever. Like it was an insane deal on. I had to go in there with these damp speedos on, man. I wasn't too happy to be honest. But I just came home and I was like, wow, this is what this country is. This is what being here is all about. It's days like that where you just go with your mate, nice little drive, bit of music, and you just go and do something random. That is what traveling is all about. And I'm finally discovering what it is like to be a traveler. And hopefully, if I do get this job and it all goes well, that's just another level to it. And then after that, it's like I described it to Corin in the car earlier. I was like, it's me eventually leaving this house that I'm in at the moment grateful for everything, obviously, but it's like a bird, a baby bird, flying away from the nest for the first time. It's like that. You know, it's like I've flown to another nest from my nest back in the UK, but now I'm like ready to just jump and go for it. Obviously, Deck's going to be here, so it's not as daunting. But yeah, you've just got to enjoy these moments when someone tells you. And yes, the routine thing did frustrate me because I'm like, oh my god, I can't deal with this. Like this is freaking me out that I'm not going to be able to do the things. I've got my laptop here, like this is my work environment. I've rushed drank my coffee, like I just don't know what to do. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, I'd do anything to go through all that again.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, I know for a fact the things that I feel like I stress about, like I say with the videos and getting things done that I want to get done, it's like in the end of everything, it's gonna be okay. Like if you didn't get that thing done today, which you wanted to get done, I think that it's hard to find that sort of fine line as someone who's ambitious because you really want to get something done. You're so wanting to do it. It's like, and even if you get that done, it's like, okay, what can I do next? I've got 30 minutes to kill. What can I do in 30 seconds before I've got my lecture? Like because you're so driven to do something, it's like I know I do struggle at times to just relax and just do something daft or do something spontaneous. I just think it's just having the awareness of like you know naturally that you are getting things done. And sometimes it's hard to know that because you don't see the results in the process. So when you are in these moments where you've been taken away from that, like what happened with you unexpectedly, just enjoy it for what it is because you're aware that you are doing the right thing, you are focused, you are driven, you are ambitious, you're getting the things done that you should be doing and are going towards who you want to be in life. So enjoy those moments that you get away from it because you need those times to appreciate it more.
Yeah, you do. And just remember that you're a human being, man. Just go out and enjoy stuff. You know, because life's for living. And today was one of those days where I realized how much just going out and seeing different things and new things you've always wanted to see is, you know? And maybe when someone offers me an opportunity to go out and go somewhere with them, I should just take it more often. The laptop can wait. I'm on the laptop now. I can do whatever I want, you know? Half the stuff I needed to do today, I didn't even need to do. It was just random stuff. So go out there and just do it. That is my advice. That is the last message I'll leave you on this podcast. Just do it. It's not an advert for Nike, but if Nike do want to sponsor us, let us know. makingitpoddy@gmail.com. Make sure you email us in. But Dan, I think all things covered, but I really enjoyed that.
Me too. It's a pleasure, just as it is every week, brother.
Thank you for joining me, mate. Technically speaking, with the pre-chat, which unfortunately we didn't record, 34 minutes of podcasting and another half an hour beforehand. It's been a pretty good night. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for listening to episode 35 of the Making It podcast. Looking forward to having you back very soon. Catch us on Making It Poddy on our social media. And for my TikTok gang, it's been a bit quiet lately. Pick up your game, people, because I want to hear from you. That's all I've got to say. But thank you. Take care of yourselves. Episode 35. And we'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody. Have a good week.